Starting? Better, all right. My name is Ted Hawthorne. I'm just really glad y'all are here. I want to, there's a sign-in sheet at the front. Hopefully you signed in. If not, please do so on your way out. Before we get going, I want to recognize the real big number of people who helped this happen. I want to thank Pastor John Lowe, David there who led us in. John Lowe is the campus pastor for this church. I approached him out of the blue. He bent over backwards and says, "You're in our neighborhood, we're neighbors, tell us what we can do." So I'm so appreciative of him and everyone who is involved with the church who's allowed us to have this meeting, because this is a lot more comfortable than Triangle Park. I want to thank Commissioner Kohler for being here, and he was instrumental in helping connecting us to the right people to get this meeting together and get it scheduled in a really short amount of time over a holiday where everybody was busy and distracted by forgetting the World Cup, and that many Navy Point neighbors helped out. Matt and Scully Fulbrod, Wanda Mercer, and this is in mostly alphabetical order. Andrew and Heather Mitchell, Bill Norvell, Mel Pino, Mike Seegers, Kevin Wade, my ridiculously better half Shannon out there front, and anyone who helped who I may have forgotten, I apologize for that. Meeting couldn't happen without our guest. We have Daryl Davis, who is project manager for the Storm Surge project. We have David Jones, who is lead engineer for SSUP, is that it? Storm Surge Underground Tower? Storm Secure, all right. And David Peden, who is External Affairs Manager. Before I hand over the mic to them, I just want to direct your attention to our guests. I think most, if not every homeowner here is excited about this prospect. And as it moved around the neighborhood, a lot of conversations happened, a lot of questions happened. And we couldn't really find the answers in the written material, couldn't find the answers to our questions on the website, and sometimes we get answers from the contractors who were going door to door, but sometimes they conflicted. So in a project of this scope, we thought there has to be a plan and a process in place, so we need to find the people who can share that with us. And so that's why we have them here. They're going to provide an overview presentation here. I'd like to ask you to hold your questions until they're done. Then we'll take questions at the mic, pass it around if possible. When you are asking a question, please tell us at least the street you're on and your name, and then ask away. I think the other thing is, let's do remember where we are. This is, we're approaching this with a win-win mentality. Let's respect each other. Let's have conversation, and if we disagree, let's do so in a polite manner. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Daryl and David.
Good evening. I'm David Peden, External Affairs Manager. It's good to be with you tonight. Daryl and David have many years' experience working for Gulf Power Company, and then went through the transition with Florida Power and Light. David's been over 30 years, and Daryl, over 10 years. So what they're going to show you tonight, and we're going to stay and answer all your questions. If we don't know an answer, I'll write it down and I'll get back to you. Florida Power and Light. We are in 43 counties out of 67 in Florida. We have over 12 million customers. It's a big company. It's a big responsibility to provide power throughout all these different counties, dealing with different municipalities, people, you name it. We try our best every day to make sure that our customers are first in our mind. And that's something that comes from the top down, and I'm very proud to work for this company. There are hiccups along the way. We're not perfect, and there are times when things get a little miscommunicated or get sideways, but we want to make sure that we correct the record and we give you the best information available possible. So I appreciate your patience tonight. We're pleased to be here, and I'm going to hand it over to Daryl.
Thank you, Dave. Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm happy to see you. Got a great turnout today. This is a wonderful place to be, right? Right here in the church. It's the best place you can be on a Wednesday night. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I don't want to hold y'all too long. I know you got a lot of questions, and that's what we're here for, to answer those questions. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and head to the second slide, please.
You guys hear? Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Y'all hear me now? I can hear it now. So, as David said, we serve more than 12 million people across Florida. We have 6 million customer accounts, 43 counties, and we got customers all the way from Miami all the way up to Pensacola. And you are part of that family. Next slide, please. So we're here today mainly because your area has experienced a multitude of outages over the past few years. And all that data has been reconciled and looked at, and that's what we're here for. We want to increase your reliability. Looking here, vegetation is the leading cause of outages for overhead lines, particularly during hurricane and severe weather. Here we got some photos in Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, Sarasota, Broward, Brevard, and as you all know, here in the Gulf Coast, we got trees all over the place, beautiful trees, and we love them. But they also cause outages, especially when they're right there on our overhead lines. Next slide, please. FPL Storm Secure Underground Program focuses on neighborhood power lines, which are closest to customers. So here we have transmission lines. You see those are typically in wide open areas. Typically trees aren't around those. Here we have our main feeder lines, which come down and they feed our laterals, which would be our neighborhoods, which that's feeding Navy Point, your area. Our goal here with Storm Secure Underground Program is to take those neighborhood lines and place them underground. And with that being said, we're not the only ones doing it here in the Northwest. This is a statewide effort. We want to increase reliability. We want to enhance the grid. We want to make things better for you all so you see less interruptions, especially during severe weather. Next slide, please. Underground power lines benefit customers in good weather and bad. Day to day, our underground power lines, they perform 50% better in our day-to-day operations. It also speeds restoration efforts. I can tell you that firsthand. I was a prior lineman. I've worked in Navy Point. I've been in the alleyways. I've changed transformers off hooks. I've done all of it. And also, a benefit of having our power lines underground, where it reduces interruptions due to vegetation, which vegetation is the leading reason we have a lot of interruptions. Next slide, please. So as I alluded to earlier, we use data-driven criteria approved by the Florida Public Service Commission to select and prioritize projects. Looking at outages, these are the things we're looking at. We're looking at our power line performance during previous named storms. We're looking at outages on power lines due to vegetation issues. And we're also looking at performance of power lines during our day-to-day operations. All those factor in and give us the data we need to decide, hey, which projects, which areas need this enhancement the most. Next slide, please. This is our project life cycle. Typically, from start to finish, we take 2 years. I will say this area, David knows we may be in a different situation with this area. With that being said, we're probably looking between a year and a half to underground in this area. So looking here, this is how our project runs. We have our conceptual design phase. which we just got through this phase. So now we're beginning outreach. Outreach is where some of you customers have received welcome packets and information about the program, and some of you have not yet. We're working this project in phases, this area in phases, so rest assured you will get the information. Following outreach, once we're done, we got the amount of easements we would need. We don't need an easement from everyone. Once we reach what we need to get that power located in front of your property, we get a final design. Then permitting comes into play, and following that comes construction. The main thing I really want to point out about this slide, which would be helpful for all of you, know that customer outreach is here from the beginning stages all the way through the end. And I'm not saying you need to call customer service. You have a dedicated customer outreach specialist that you can call. I even have my business cards back there that will be here that you can reach out to. We want to help you. We want this project to be seamless for you. Next slide, please. So we look in doing this conversion from overhead to underground, there's a lot of pieces to it. And we rely on some things from you all, and we will be coming out to, request easements, because we need easements to place our transformers. We need junction box agreements. And that agreement is just understanding that, hey, we're gonna take your overhead service and place it underground. And we have the junction box that'll go directly into your meter can to convert your service. I'll have pictures, I think I got pictures later in this slide to show or in this PowerPoint to show you that. Equipment placement. We're not just coming out there to you and saying, hey, we're gonna put it right here. We obviously, we have to work in parameters with our design and engineering team on placement of our equipment. But we want to get feedback from you on, hey, should we place it over here? Can we place it over here on the west side of your property? We want it to be, working for you. We don't want to sit it right there by your driveway unless you want it there. We try to work with you on that. All right, looking at this slide here, we got a before and after photo. So this actually is applicable somewhat to Navy Point. Here we have overhead line with transformers here behind the property. Our goal is to bring that stuff up front so it is accessible for us to work on, and it'll increase the reliability by just putting it underground. Here's the standard meter with the overhead service going up to the transformer. Once we get it underground, that wire going to your home overhead will be eliminated, and it will be coming down or through a pad mount transformer to a junction box straight into your meter can. That way we'll eliminate the vegetation outages, and a lot of this is a huge benefit to get that to go underground. Next slide. Here we have directional boring, minimizes disruption to properties. That's the method we use to bore in your service, directional boring. We don't trench, so we don't make a huge impact to your yard. We'll dig a hole here, and we have a directional bore machine our vendors use, just like shown in this photo, where it'll go directly where we want it. And that would mean evading facilities underground. We do a lot of locating to ensure we don't hit things. I know that's a huge concern, especially here. We try to minimize those impacts. And I will say that, in the construction business, things do happen. I'm not guaranteeing a perfect product that we're not gonna hit anything out here. There is a chance that may happen, but I can tell you, we do our best to minimize that from happening. We've done very well at that. Next slide, please. Here are our two forms. We have the junction box. It's an acknowledgement form, not an agreement. The junction box acknowledgement form. And also we have a sample of what our easement would look like for those that are approached for having a transformer placed in your yard. Those are the two documents we request from property owners. So I oversee the outreach team. When my team comes out, you'll know exactly who they are. This is what you you will see a professional there with a Storm Secure FPL t-shirt, polo on, a vest, a hat, an iPad with all our project-related information. And if you ever have any questions on, hey, is this actually FPL? Because we have there's solar and all kinds of different businesses that come around and claim to be FPL that actually aren't. So ask them to see their badge. They will gladly show it to you. So we also pledge to restore each property to its pre-existing condition. After the work's done, we're not going to leave a mess during your property. We want you to be proud and happy and satisfied when we're done doing all of our work. We've increased your reliability, we will increase your reliability, and also, we're not going to leave a mess there. Here's some before and after photos. That's a clean yard. We installed the transformer there. That's a yard with a bush. We put the transformer outside the bush. Next slide, please. So here we talk about specifically Navy Point, your neighborhood. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the overview of the feeder. Currently, all of this is overhead, aside from this little section here. So the blue is our main feeder. That will remain overhead. We will harden that, we're in the very preliminary stages, so I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do to harden that. That may be a pole be replaced. That may be new conductor coming through there, as in bigger wire. But it's all these areas here in orange is what we intend on the underground. Next slide, please. So that concludes my presentation. Like I said, I wanted to keep it short and to the point because I really want to get to your questions. Thank you.
I'll jump in with the first one. Define pledge. What does pledge mean?
To make a commitment to something.
Okay. In the past, we have neighbors here who have, in the front, they have a lot of hardscape. They have hardscape in the back. They've installed artificial grass areas. Expensive. And if you're going, how do you go through concrete with this boring? And how does that get put back to its regular, its before status?
Okay. So, in regard to the landscape, we attempt to stay away from the landscape. In the event that we do have to bore and potentially take out a bush or do some trimming to a tree, we will let you know. We have we call it a tree work authorization form, and we will not do that work until you agree to that and sign that form. And we try to work around things and such, just like I was stating earlier. If we come to you with a proposal, we would like to hear, hey, I like this bush here or this flower here. Let's move it over here. Maybe this will be a better location for it. And as far as the concrete, we're not boring through concrete. We will reach out to you about a concrete cut, and in an event we cut the concrete, we will replace it back as it was to its pre-existing condition once we're done doing the work.
Hi, my name is Mike Severs. I have just a couple of questions. I've talked to a lot of neighbors. I spent a lot of time walking the neighborhood. And easily, the biggest concern I've heard is why are they going on the street side versus the alleys behind our homes with the lines and the transformers? So I really want to know why we're doing that, and if that's true. I really don't know if it's true yet. And then as a follow-up, how many transformers are you going to place per home? And do you have any idea right now where you're going to place them?
Thank you, smartphones on things. Appreciate you being here. Wanted to say thanks to all the Baptists for welcoming us and Ted for setting all this up. So we're very excited to be here and have this discussion with y'all tonight. But getting to your question, terms of, rear lot discussion, just to back the history up here with the Navy Point area. You know, back in the 40s, pad mount transformers were not even an option. And so ideally, if they were, you know, the design in the back lot lines, probably would have accommodated pad mount transformers, which would have been a better, more reliable system for you guys. So we fast forward to today. In terms of the back lots, we can get small service trucks and accessibilities to those areas to work on small things. But when very large events happen, such as wire burns down, poles break, the things that we recognize and witness during storms, transformers are on the ground, those type things, devastating. During major events, the amount of damage requires a significant amount of resources and trucks to get into those alleyways. And these are trucks that pull trailers, that have lifting equipment on them, et cetera, et cetera. You guys have probably seen them before. The restoration in those scenarios, in my 37 years experience of traveling all over the United States, is a very labor-long, difficult process, particularly in the middle of the night. On the transformer side, as far as placing the transformers rear lot of, and let me just say this up front, there's not a utility that I'm aware of in the United States that will allow their facilities to be placed rear of. Unfortunately, we've learned a lot of bad lessons for doing that, all of us. And so there's very few, if any, I don't know a single one that will allow backlot construction any longer, whether it's pad mount or overhead. So when you put the pad mounts back there, even though it's not aerial, it still requires a substantial amount of equipment to lift that. The transformer is extremely heavy, several thousand pounds. And so the amount of equipment that has to be in those back alleys during a very major event, and the pad mounts at times have to be replaced. Some of the areas are low-lying. We have mitigation efforts in place for that. However, it's not 100% foolproof. You all guys know, if you've lived here very long, how Mother Nature can be. And so I say all that to say, putting the facilities, whether it's underground or overhead, is really not a good design. From a reliability perspective, accessibility, the time frame that it takes us to restore, which quite frankly is why we're here today. The power quality in your area has been looked at over a 10-year period. And in that 10 years, we look at how long have they been out, how many times have they been out, and then how long were they out during the previous storms, and also what does their reliability look like on blue sky days. And so we take 10 years worth of that data and we analyze, you know, which areas need the most benefit. And so in the Navy Point area, the reason why we're here and the reason you guys are up on the list so high from a reliability standpoint, from a reliability standpoint, the reason we're here mainly is because of the 10 years worth of data has placed, you know, your power quality numbers in a situation where we would like to start there on one of our, it's a 4th-year
I want to
project.
go ahead and follow up. I don't think you answered my question.
I'm sorry.
We understand the reliability of underground versus above ground, right? My specific question is, why do you have to go to that? I know you don't like it, you said no one in the world does that. I want to know specifically, is it just because the pads are so big you can't get the trucks back there? And have you looked at arrangements that would circumvent that?
Yeah, I'll answer your first question. Putting the transformers in facilities that carry high voltage in the alleyways presents a problem with accessibility for the trucks that are required to maintain those. Sure does.
And what did we look at to see if we could fix the accessibility without putting the transformers in our front yards?
Yeah, that part we haven't looked at, but you know, it's never really been considered a part of the design. It's just-
David, I had to step into a yard today while walking a dog because one of your big trucks was going down the alley. Bright sunny day.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm not saying that they can't fit, I'm just saying from a restoration standpoint, it makes it challenging.
It's easier for you. I get it's more challenging. It's also more challenging to look at a transformer in your front yard every day. It also impacts our property values every day. So you just said we haven't really looked at putting the transformers in the alley. You just said that. Why not?
Because of the challenges that we've encountered through our institutional experience, mine in particular for the last 37 years, and having that accessibility to that equipment. And the amount of time that it takes to restore power to those areas is significant, which is why you guys are in the top quartile for
I appreciate your response. I do want to know, I would like for you to look at what we would need to do for accessibility to put the transformers in the back. I think you owe it to us to say, because you just said we haven't looked at that because I have all this experience. That's great. I work in neurosurgery, I have a lot of experience too, and I always look at all the angles, right? So you just said you haven't looked at that. I think you owe it to us to at least look at putting the transformers in the alley and see if there's a way we can do that.
My name's Cliff, I live on 212 Berry Road. Not the transformers for the house. When you run your primary down through there, how many above ground transformers are you gonna put? You gonna put one at each house, one at every fourth house, one at every 10th house? And are you gonna bore laterals to the long side services? And then, how far back from the pavement edge or the back of the curb are you planning on putting these?
Yes, sir, appreciate your question. So the transformers, not every house is gonna have a transformer. Y'all see that in alleyways. Transformers feed about between 8 to 12 customers or properties. So we're gonna have them spread out. We very preliminary in this. We're just touching the cusp of the outreach stage. So we're trying to work through the concept of a design. So I can't tell you exactly how many transformers, but I can tell you that they will be spread out, and they are built to feed between 8 and 12 houses. As far as, I think you were questioning the services going back to the property.
Long sides.
Sorry, what was that?
Laterals for long side services. If you're gonna run your main power on both sides of the street, or you're gonna bore laterals to the long side. And are you gonna camera the sewer line?
Yes.
Laterals and everything, and when you spot, or use a back, or just go by the depth, what they write down.
So on the sewer ladders, they're certainly challenging because a lot of times you don't know you hit them. Unlike others until they hit the water line or hit the gas line. On the sewer laterals, we actually, two things, we have some pretty stringent guidelines just in general with respect to boring. We also have a vendor that we use that specializes in locating difficult situations. So we bring them in, they use various techniques. Clean outs are great, if they can get a camera in the clean out. But they use various methods, GPR, cameras, other methods to actually locate and dig down and find the sewer line. I will tell you, the counties have been marking the main sewer lines out in claim they don't. Scanning County Utilities, maybe people service here, I'm not sure, but all of them pretty much follow the same protocols. They will locate the lateral going to the house if it's fed off the sewer main. And then from there, we kind of take it to the house, whether it's we utilize a clean out and other methods that our specialized vendor comes in. They gather the depth information, and again, on the bore machine, we can pretty much drive it to the depth that we need and the directions that we need to try to bore the utility.
What do you do when you
I
do
think
this
I-
online? How do you make it right? Because you just told us you don't know if you do it.
I think my question would be, have you looked, like Cliff said, have you looked at each alley? My alley is 17 feet wide at its narrowest. You can get a garbage truck and a pickup truck down at the same time. There's other alleys that may not be as wide. If you told us that's the problem alley, we can either address our fences in the alley and do that. But my question, if you can do 8 to 10 houses, you put one transformer at one end, one transformer at the other end of the alley, and feed both sides with just one boring. And if you tell us you've looked at it, not historically, we have problems with that. Ours is a historical neighborhood, and it was set up to have the utilities in the front. If you tell me you want on my personal property in the front, we got a problem. I want underground power. I actually have underground power, but it was from Gulf Power, and it comes straight down the pole to my 400 amp service. But not everybody here has that. And if you've looked at it, that's all I'm asking. But, you know, you've got to be able to tell us of the alleys in Navy Point, and Sheldon, we bring the map here that's got all the alleys on it. We've got an overhead, and we've got a plaque that shows every one of the alleys. And if you can point out to a lot of these people, this is where we'd like to put the transformer, maybe some of them will back off. But I don't understand why it's not much cheaper to go through the alley.
I don't understand why it hasn't been considered, which is what you said. I mean, Bill, to your point, if you were to tell us that the alley has to be a minimum of 20 feet wide for us to even consider putting a transformer, I would very happily move my fence to not have to look at a transformer on the road.
Just a point of clarification, because I think what, if I understood correctly, and I may have understood wrong, but is the reason that you stated you prefer not to go in the alleys is because after a storm, it's the damage after a storm that prevents you from going through an alley? Was that part of it?
It's not on a storm day, the municipal's got if anything happens today, we gotta send a truck in there, multiple trucks in there, it's a difficult scenario.
Have you driven down our alleyways?
I have lived in this area for 50
No, that's not the answer. Have you driven down the alleys?
Calm down. Calm down.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer the question. I'm getting interrupted. I've lived here for 50 years. I grew up on New Warrington Road. I used to go over here water skiing a lot. Now that I'm working for the power company, I have spent many hours in the Navy Point area after hours, along with Daryl and many others of us, in those alleyways. Yes, sir, I have.
I can tell you just recently, I came out, because it's been a little while since I've been on this end of town. My coverage area is from here to Panama City. So if I came out here maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and I attempted to go down the alleyway. I can't tell you exactly the street. I think it was Kalash, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Kalash. Yes, I went down there very tight in my pickup truck, very tight. I understand all of them aren't like that, but that one was very tight. And also, you know, we got water meters right there in the middle of the alleyway, so we're going to bring in super heavy equipment alongside with a very large vehicle driving on top of that, I mean, that's just not practical.
Yeah.
Okay, as a few rebuttals here, I've got gas and water in the alleyway. That is our easement in our neighborhood. It's understood. Okay, sure, yeah, I'll stand up.
I see you.
So, water. That's fine. So, a few rebuttals. Water and gas in the alleyway, no problem. You said something about a communication about our bushes of trees being chopped. That's not true. I've got a huge, beautiful oak that got butchered, and it was not a point of discussion until I came out and raised the ruckus. So that's an issue, and that's a problem. Another thing, the alleys, okay, our streets lie lower. We've had alleys for 80 some odd years. The growth is higher. Has the flood plan been checked on where you're planning to put these junction boxes? And if they're in the front yard, that's generally a lower spot. You've got growth in the alleyways. It's higher. They don't flood like the streets do. That's just a logical thing as someone who does construction and pays attention to their neighborhood when they're walking. We always have huge trucks in our alleyway. It's nothing new. Can speak pretty much for the neighborhood. We don't want our front yards disrupted anytime there's an issue. You know, if there's an issue, it happens in an alley, and it doesn't generally bother us unless we don't have power, and we patiently wait, and we're grateful for that. So those are a few rebuttals just on that. So I want to know, speaking on the height in the alleyways, because that's growth from tree drop, dirt, buildup, all of that. It's higher in the alleys. So has the flood plan been checked? I mean, because that makes sense to me, and I would like to know if you're pushing to try to go down the road in our front yards. And also, all of our power hookups, for the most part, I walk the neighborhood because I have to have power done on my property. I have just my roof redone. I'm looking. All the power is in the alleyway. So you're trying to go in the front yard and then around our house to the back where our power is. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. That's my.
Thank you for the feedback and the bugs. We appreciate the feedback, really. As far as the flood plan, our design team, they definitely take that into account. And we also have equipment that will raise that transformer up. We have a high pad. We also have a high style transformer where the internal bushings are raised up. So it'll be a layer of protection in the event of a flood.
So is this on? So they're coming to our house right now. I don't know how people actually have people coming to their house looking for this easement, but they're coming to our house on Pablo's right now. And what they're telling us is more like how it's a hard sell. How is to be more efficient? You want us just to give you some of our land, right? And we have, I think you mentioned, dedicated use for the entire road space. We have parking for trailers on one side. We have our view of the water on the other side. My family's owned the property since it was built in the 40s. So we're not really looking for a transformer to be in our yard. And right now we're being asked to volunteer this land with no compensation for it. It will impact the property resale value. There's going to be a lump in the front yard either to look at or to block access to a drive-through. So I don't know what this is going to turn into besides an eminent domain proceeding and how long that timeline's going to go and how many more hurricanes that we all live through with the intermittent power that we're looking at. But there's no discussion of anything except for just this is where it's going to go. We don't want one at all. So what happens when we just say no?
I'm not sure we answered the gentleman's question in the back with respect if nobody is willing to sign for an easement, I believe was your question, for a transformer in the front.
Right, you're not putting the easement, right? I guess it's full already because you're not using the 7-foot unit and you're wanting to put it back into the property, right? So the easement's full, and I don't want to give you my property is going to be the answer, and I'm sure my neighbors don't. We've already kind of been talking. No one really wants to give up
to say that there's no data saying that a transformer will diminish your property value. There's no data showing that.
Excuse me, what data, floodplain data are you using? The county uses 1979, we're 2026.
The updated this year, last year, updated the flood zone.
Yes, sir.
Further to where it was.
Yeah, off the top of our heads, we don't know exactly which layer they're using to overlay on top of their GIS in terms of what data it is, but we'll certainly find out and follow back up with you, Mr. Pease.
Hey, James Stanford, my wife and I live on Southeast Bobwitz, so I don't have questions about the placement of the transformer, because that's gonna get asked a lot today, so I won't ask that, but I have a few questions, and I'll ask one at a time, because I've been in your match, and I know 4 or 5 questions get hard to answer back to back without stopping, so. My first one is, so our neighborhood cables are gonna be undergrounded, but the feeders are still gonna be above ground, so I realize a lot of our outages aren't vegetation related, but a fair amount of them too are transient surge related, lightning strikes. So with the above ground lines from our feeders still being above ground, what kind of efforts can we expect in terms of transient surge prevention, in terms of reliability? I'll preface this by saying I manage 12 substations at an electrical, chemical facility, but I'm a mechanical engineer, so I ask dumb questions to electrical engineers.
No, you're fine. We were just trying to gather what you were asking there. Sounds like you're questioning the overhead feeder to your laterals.
Correct.
The overhead feeder is maintained by us, as far as vegetation.
I'm not talking about vegetation, I'm talking about like lightning strikes that cause transient surge events where you need lightning arresters, grounding studies, etc.
Yeah.
Are you asking what we install or what?
If there's already prevention measures installed on the feeders, or if there's kind of upgrades that have to be done with that in addition to undergrounding.
Yeah, so we have a set of specifications that we designed to that include exactly what you're referring to in some cases. But it's gonna depend on, certain factors like how do we tie into the next feeder so that if we lose this feeder, we can tie the 2 feeders together. So that's one scenario. There's multiple scenarios to where, we do extra things. One thing for this undergrounding program, let me ask you a question first. We do install lighting arresters. There's a whole set of specifications that FPL and Bell Power have developed for a significant number of years, and all of that is a lot of it is to help us on the lightning mitigation as well as animal mitigation. We're using things like covered wire now and covered bushings and other things to help our little friends from getting up there and not only taking their life out, but taking the transformer out with it. And so, sometimes getting back to the other, in these designs for SSUP, one of the other benefits that come along with it is we double up on the feeds going in on the tap side. So you'll have 2 underground lines coming in to all facilities in which if one of the cables go bad, we have the ability to switch it out. And so it's a dual feed system unlike we've ever had before. Everything you have in here now is radio overhead, which is very similar and pretty basic to most other designs that you'll see across the U.S.
Okay, that answers that question for me. My next one is, are pad-mounted transformers serviced out of the same pole trucks that pole-mounted transformers are serviced out of?
It varies. So oftentimes when we have an outage, we may or may not know if it's underground. So we dispatch a trouble specialist. And that trouble specialist gets to the location, and if it's, obviously they're only limited to 600 turns into a pad mount, yes, that escalates it into additional equipment that's required to be able to set the pad mount and get the system restored.
One of the questions that a number of people have asked is, if you're going from the front to our meters in the back, how do you get there? Are you going around our house? Are you going under the house? What impacts, that decision? And, doesn't that cost even more to do that?
Ted?
So on the routing of the services, it's not uncommon, even in front of construction, overhead facilities that we're converting out on the roads to serve a meter, say on the back side of the house. Typically the engineering staff, when they meet with new customers, we ask them to go left or right side of the house, depending on where our facilities are. That does not always happen. They fall through the cracks. A lot of them get placed on the backs of the structures, back of the house. That's not an issue. Sometimes it can be challenging because on private property, customers have sprinkler systems. They have other utilities that generally don't get marked by our 811 system. And that's where we bring in our specialized team to go in and help us locate, along with the homeowner's help, because most of y'all know, most of you put your own pipe in some cases, where it could be at to give us a clue of where to get started on. We'll try and find it. But it's no issue going in the backyard. Once you enter the dirt, it doesn't matter if somebody's backyard or front yard or side yard, you still have the challenges of making sure you avoid whatever's buried in the ground. And that's just something we face every day.
And just to add to that, typically when it comes to running our service, David, correct me if I'm wrong, we attempt to hug the property line and then cut over to your meter can. It wouldn't be going, no services would be going under your house, across the corner of your house. We try to hug the property line and cut over.
That sounds good. Listen, we appreciate what y'all are trying to do. We're not trying to sound like a bunch of spoiled children, but our neighborhood was designed to have utilities in the alley. That's why there are alleys throughout the neighborhood. I understand that was in 1944 or in a different era. However, we do know electric trucks can go down those alleys. One of the gentlemen even offered, we'd gladly give you space in back. You put a transformer behind my house, I'll move my fence, like he said, gladly. One of the things we love is our view. It's part of the reason many of us purchase those homes. And I know it's a really nice thing to have underground power, and to you that box, that transformer might look just great. It doesn't look good to me. So I would much rather have it in back if it's humanly possible. I understand it would be easier to access from the street, I get that. But we're asking for consideration if there's any way possible. That's all.
I get it.
I'm going to leave, not because I'm mad, I gotta pick a kid up.
Thank you.
Thank you for your.
Good evening. Thank y'all for coming tonight and answering our questions. I'm just gonna repeat a question that was actually asked earlier that y'all didn't really get a chance to actually answer. I have a feeling one of those boxes is gonna be in my front yard, and I'm not necessarily saying no, depending on where it's placed, but based on your experience, because you said you're all over the county or all over the state already, you've already been doing this, what happens when we really do not want to give you permission if we look at all the drawings and all the information and decide that it's not okay for our property? What is the precedent?
Is it all or none? Is
I'd like for them to have a chance to answer the question if you don't mind.
Sorry.
Yes, it is all done. We want to lean on you to participate within this program. We're not trying to force this on you. This is a voluntary program. It will increase your reliability substantially. We would love for y'all to participate, but we got to work as partners. partners here on this. We want to be able to service those transformers once they're in place. We keep talking about the alleyway, right? And I appreciate whomever is trying to give up some of their yard, but realistically, we do not want our stuff backlotted. We want it to be accessible from the road so we can service it properly. Whether that's bringing in a pole truck to bring it in or a trailer to haul it out. We need to have that room and accessibility. I was a prior lineman. I need to be able to work around it. I need to get all around that transformer. If we, in the event, which will never happen, but if it's in the alleyway, right? Is your trash picked up in the alleyway currently?
No.
Okay.
It was.
But not anymore.
Okay.
There is a street.
And you drive through the alleyway. Okay. So if a transformer's back there in the alleyway, which takes up about a 5 by 5 footprint, where would that transformer lay?
On our property, yeah, on the property.
We're back out.
Okay, I have a question, sorry, guys, I said I wasn't gonna say anything, and here I am. Okay, so this whole conversation has been either or, right? We are talking about it as either it can go in the alley or it can go in the front, and it's right, it's black, white, either or. And so, I think what we might be asking, or at least what I wanna know is, why can't we have a both and discussion? Right, like you have not gone and looked at if the alleys are feasible and what alleys might be feasible. Maybe there's parts where we have to have it on the street, but it seems to me that there's an opportunity for a compromise here where we have a both and conversation and we take all of the possibilities into consideration. And that's all we are asking of you as a community, is that you can come to us and sincerely say, we have taken all of the possibilities into consideration. You have said to us tonight that you have not yet taken all of the possibilities into consideration. So can we have a both and conversation? Can you go back and talk to your engineers and say, this is the layout of this community. What is possible? Not what I want, what I've seen for 50 years, I ski here. What is possible now in 2026? What can we do with this unique community? Are you willing to do that? And my question is, to be clear, and I would like an answer, are you willing to do that?
I know.
We are willing to entertain the thought, but there has to be.
That is a shitty answer.
No, come on.
Is not we are willing to look back and have a conversation with our engineers.
Excuse me, on your slide, you were done with this.
Excuse me, we're in a sanctuary, we're guests to this church. Let's all tone it down a little bit. You know, you may not like the answers you're getting, but the thing is, things are designed to a different standard than they were in 1940. And it's about accessibility, reliability, keeping people's power on. So when your power goes out during a storm, who do you think is going to be the first to complain that it's not back on in a timely manner? And this is a voluntary program. And this is in the very beginning stages. What you're saying tonight will be taken into consideration. There's no doubt about it. There's not a plan that's in place that we're gonna, this is it, it's the one we're doing. This is good feedback that we're taking, okay? Now,
Thank you.
if it works out that we cannot do what you want to, we just go to the next neighborhood and just move on, and you keep what you have, and everybody's happy. But the thing is, your information, I'm taking notes, everything you said is down, but the hostile nature of it's not appreciated, especially in the sanctuary.
Hello, my name is Mike Joy, I live on Pink Road. Is it possible to, if you guys have seen the alleys, the entrances to the alleys on the road, can you guys put the so we wouldn't get what we want, and you might not get exactly what you guys are looking at doing either, but could you put the transformers, because each 100 block, there's about 13 houses on each street. Could you put them at each end, right at the beginning beginning of the entrances to the alleys and put the pads there. I live right next to one side. I don't love the idea of being there, but you could do that because if you guys do that, you have access to it. It's not in front of our homes. Nobody's home would have it in front of it. It's not our property, it's county property. And then people's water and everybody else that needs to go back there can go around them or they can walk, because there's really no reason to go back there with a big truck anymore for any purpose. I mean, the water department, they only drive pickup trucks back there. They can walk back there with a bucket and do whatever they gotta do to fix the meter. But I think some people would be willing to deal with that. I don't think anybody in here wants it in front of their house, and I got 2 houses. And I got a feeling I've already been told it'd probably be in front of both of my houses. And they look terrible, nobody wants them, and I don't think you're gonna get any support for that. But if that's something that your engineers, we asked the person who came by, my wife did, it was actually her idea. Could they run it from there? And that, to me, I'd run it down around the back of the alley. You can go right through people's backyard. It's an easy shot to their meter, which pretty much everybody's meter's in their backyard. But just something to look at, because you can put it at both ends. You could do 6 houses here, 6 houses from the other end, covers each. You could do the same thing on the next street, because each, almost like an H shape in most of the neighborhoods. You got 2 entrances on both ends. And county still can get in there and mow, go right around with the zero-turn mowers and mow, so they have access. I think that's kind of a fair compromise. Just something maybe can you guys have them look at, engineers, and can they run? Because the person who came to our house told us they couldn't. They said they got to run it for 4 houses across from each other in each. They can't run it lengthwise, 6 to 8 houses. They said the person on the end doesn't get as much power as the other person, and it didn't seem to make any sense to me. I didn't understand that. But just a thought.
Thank you for your feedback, and I think David said, we're here to receive your feedback and take that into consideration and make a decision. It may not be a friendly decision, and it may not work out for all of us. That's okay. So we certainly are here for your feedback, and that's why we showed up tonight. So thank you for providing that, and we'll certainly take all of it into consideration. We'll continue to take questions until you stop asking.
Okay, I have 2 questions. My first question is, if myself or my neighbor or someone hits the box pulling their boat out of the driveway, if you put it near there, we cut it too close and we hit it, who's responsible for repairs of that box? And my second question is, what is this costing us in the end for you doing the underground work, whether it's out front or out back? What is our cost in the end? Because I'm sure there will be one.
Those are great questions. So any facilities that Florida Power and Light installs, no matter where they're at, any damage to those facilities is Florida Power and Light's responsibility to repair and get the power back on to the damage. The second question was,
How much?
the cost for the program. So the program itself was approved through the commission statewide and several years ago. So it's already a part of your base electrical rates. So this particular project will not increase your base electrical rates. There's no cost in that respect. It's already built in to your rates today.
So when you install these, it's already built in. This will not cost us a dime, 5, 6, 7, 10, 2 weeks, 20 years down the road. Our electricity bill will not go up, or our electric taxes for it.
Let me just say this. I work in the engineering power delivery service, not in the rate structuring service.
Well, can you find that answer out for us so we know?
Would you please not interrupt?
I thought you were done, I'm sorry.
So my point is this: rate structures are a different part of our company, and they typically don't have anything to do with what we're trying to accomplish here today. But I can't sit here, neither can David, neither can Daryl, and tell you that your rates are never going to go up. I think that's what you asked. Not due to this, absolutely not. So to give you an example, if we came into this neighborhood, I'll throw this number out, and it cost us $1 million to do. if it costed us $3 million to do it, it still wouldn't impact your rates. It's built into your component as it stands today.
Hey, gentlemen, if I can, I have a question. You're ready to be politicians, I can tell you that right now. You take some good arrows. You said all or nothing, and I'm hearing what the Navy Point folks are concerned about on the alleys, but I do have a question, because none of this area from like here down, Bow Davenport has alleys. So when you said all or nothing, does that mean that that part of the project would not go forward? Because this area, is anyone here from Bow Davenport? So this is only Navy Point, this area with the alleys. Would the rest of the project depend on what these folks want? Would these people be compromised as well?
Yeah, so what we have here, Mike, is this is an entire feeder, what we call a feeder, and I know that's power company lingo, but this is an entire independent circuit that when that circuit goes out at the substation, the entire circuit goes out. So it's independent, but yet tied into other circuits. And so the way this program is administered, for a lot of reasons, is we go in and we do the entire circuit, one circuit at a time. It's just so happened that this particular Navy Point area is served out of our Beach Haven substation. And so, it would need to encompass the entire feeder in order to accomplish, the end in mind, and that's improved reliability for the entire feeder.
Okay, well, I think that a lot of those folks would have a different opinion.
Deb, is it me?
Yes.
Melissa Pino on Bob Woodson. I've already barked at you guys just about every way possible, email, phone. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for giving our neighborhood this time. There was one thing that I had not said to you all in my various ways of getting feedback to you, and it comes up with what Gloria says. I think Gloria was talking about rainfall data, but in terms of our FEMA maps and you guys not knowing, where they're drawing that information, we cannot drive our roads after tropical storms. We're not even talking about hurricanes. We have to get out of our house, which you're familiar with where we live. We have to use the alleys to get out of our house. Some days it can be a couple of days, 3 days before all that flooding goes down because of the rising tide. So just be aware of that, because you're saying that the problem is with getting to the boxes, but in a good part of Navy Point, particularly Boblets in some places, you're actually creating a problem with getting to the boxes. Because we can't even, we've got, water up to our front porches, so I just wanted to make that point. Following up on the other woman's question about rates, this is not about rates, this is about materials, okay? One of the things that happened is some of the subs that were out were telling people, well, if you sign this, you're gonna get a free meter box. And y'all told me that that is simply not the case. There were some people that must have been mistaken in telling folks that. What component of this project, in terms of the upgrades, materials, meter boxes, the conduits that go to that, all of that, what part of that is going to be free for the residents?
It would essentially be the conversion. Coming up, hitting a LP, which I wish I had a photo to display of that. But if we go back a couple slides, I appreciate it.
And that's including, from my smarter friend William, mastheads as well. The cost of, getting putting your roof back together once you take take the up thing. Why can't you think of the
Yeah, we won't be removing your weatherhead. The method is that we cap the weatherhead. This is so we're not giving out free meters. You have a meter with your service. That's how we track your usage. This is what we include is a junction box. This is the style, and we also have a style that's an LB, which is about half the size. And it would typically come up right here next to your meter can, and it's like an elbow to bring that service to the top of your meter can. That's what's included with the conversion. And then on like your weatherhead here, it would not, you know, you're not gonna leave, sorry, I got right in front of it, there we go. We're not, it's hard to see it, but we're not gonna leave wires hanging out of your weatherhead. It would be a cap on top of there, so we're not impacting your roof by any means.
But the meters are not free. Is there ever gonna be any other purchases required?
Not usually.
No.
Yeah, you're keeping your same meter can, you're keeping,
Well, we can't, there's no way you guys could. I mean,
we've done.
on a lot of the houses, they're gonna require meter conversions. I mean, it's a lot of people have very old meters. We had to get new meters when we did our undergrounding.
Right.
Ours were relatively new.
Understood, yeah. So there's, some meters are not convertible, and that would be some meters that are, I would say, a part of your home, like embossed or enclosed into your home, where we can't have access to the side or the bottom. Those meters are non-convertible, and you will be notified as we're doing the project about that. In that situation, you'll be left overhead. We'll just have an underground feeding your overhead. So we'll have our underground drop coming up the pole, and then you'll have your service drop remaining just like as it was. Right. So that junction box there, we use that in some applications. The LB I'm referring to is much smaller than that. We don't need much space at all. Maybe this much space, not much, maybe 6-7 inches maybe is the width.
So like street lights in the alley one way?
As of now, in the design, since that's a service, we would leave the street lights there. But yeah, I'm sorry. In the event that we were able to come to an agreement and have transformers installed in front of, that gives you the opportunity or benefit if you would like. I know some people aren't interested in it, but you would be able to follow up later to potentially have street lighting there in the front of your property.
What happens to the power lines that are there now?
Where?
In the alleyway, are the power lines there going away? Poles?
Eventually,
If
yes.
the lighting's gonna remain, the pole will stay there with the light. But as far as the overhead feed, which that's where we're seeing all these outages, the goal is to move it up front, get it underground. Yeah, the lights in the alleyway, currently, we're very preliminary on this, but currently we have the design to leave those lights there.
So how are they gonna be powered?
Board.
The goal is to get, so we're gonna get the main line underground up front, and then we have secondary wire that will come to one pole there at the end, and it would come up, feed the light, and those will remain overhead. Those lights don't impact your reliability.
That's what you're gonna transform.
Those are neat.
Both of you running a line, does the light at each property has a light?
No, for example.
So like a termination point?
Yeah, for example, we'll come down to I would call it a handhold near a pole here. Say this was at the end of the alleyway. We have our pedestal there. We'll have an underground line come here, hit this pole, come up, riser up the pole, and you have the street light, and they're all pretty much daisy chained back there in that alleyway. So we would leave that feed there.
So the wires will go
For the lights.
For the lights.
Correct.
Why would they not go away?
Oh, no.
Just to speak to the lights, a lot of what we considered also is this neighborhood itself has over 300. They are also part of the MSBU.
They're CRA 2.
is a large number of lights that are paid for by the residents through a mechanism that is in place for y'all. If there was a desire to move those lights to the front of, if this progress progresses, then certainly we would probably have to separate or treat that as just a separate issue on how to handle that going forward, based on the facilities that we have. But our plan was to leave the lights rear up.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to ask you just a question more in the present, just to establish a benchmark. Is there a state, county, or city contract for maintenance with the power company? Did you get that? I'm sorry. Is there currently a city, state, or county agreement for you guys for some type of maintenance of the alleyways currently right now? And if so, what's the scope?
What exactly, the maintenance of?
The alleyways and the cleanliness. For years, Gulf Power actually had a maintenance program where they would come to the alleyways and clean them, and I haven't seen people report a power back there in 3 or 4 years. Yeah, we never see.
We do it ourselves.
And I used to live on K, actually, there was a lot of overgrowth there. So my question in leading to this is, we've heard about, when we first introduced the whole principle of this was that we have more outages than anybody else in our neighborhood, surrounding areas. But of course, we're gonna have them if nobody's maintaining the tree road. I think y'all said that earlier. Are we wrong when we noted that, or?
Michael, you said it to some point that's the county's responsibility.
It's like, so the county's responsible for part of the alleyways, but if it's vegetation over your line, I believe is your responsibility. So it kind of depends, and,
Does people of the gas company have any responsibility for maintaining the alleys?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's should. I'd have to ask, but I don't think people's does, unless it's something on their line that they have to fix.
So we used to have power outages, just random wind days. And we literally had 3 years when I called the county, and they said Gulf Power took care of that, it was part of the contract with them. Out of the 7.5, 8 years I lived there, I saw them twice. And there's alleys that have been overgrown for years, and nothing's done with them. So I'm trying to point out, we've got a problem that was created to then move us to this level.
Understood, appreciate that feedback. We jotted that down, we'll take it back, discuss it.
I'm Bruce Morrison, and I live on 204 West Sunset. And I just want to know, all the telephone poles are in back right now, are servicing our houses. They can be pulling all those telephone poles?
I'm sorry, can you pull your mic up just a second?
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Are they going to be pulling all the service poles coming down the alleys that are servicing our houses? I live at 204 West Sunset.
Yeah, so those, I haven't exactly been down your specific alleyway recently, but, so we're not the only facilities on that pole. In the event that we do convert to underground, you know, there's AT&T, there's Cox, we can't pull that pole with those facilities on that pole. They are notified, you know, once we decide to go, or once we get an agreement and we decide to go underground, and, you know, we pull our stuff off the poles, we notify Cox and AT&T of that change.
Alright, so I was saying, that speaking of, they got the poles there, they're gonna pull the poles, that they can, you know, get the trucks down there. Hope y'all take into consideration that y'all will use the alleys. I'm just reiterating that, I apologize. But
No problem. And in the event, to make clear, in the event that we remove all facilities, because we've done it 1,000 times over from here to Panama City, here in the Northwest. In the event that we remove all our things off the pole, we will pull the pole if there's no AT&T or cable or any other facilities on the pole. If it's just our pole and it's just our facilities, we go underground, we pull the pole, and we fill the hole.
And one more question, how deep will the wires be in the ground in our yards?
Yes, sir. We try to keep a board depth of 24 to 36 inches. In some cases, we've had to go 10 feet. We have that capability. We work around things that are in the ground and been really successful with that.
Good evening. My name is Andrew, and I live on West Sunset. I don't have a question about alleys, but I do have a question about the feeder lines, I guess, which are the blue lines on the map, right? You said that you were going to be hardening them. What does that entail, and how does that work?
Yes, sir. Our design team, I'm not a part of that team, but our design team, they would, we have certain standards or specifications here at the power company. Our feeder needs to be at, and those change at times, as time goes on. We try to evaluate what outages have occurred, and we want to make sure we strengthen the grid to perform when we do have severe storms and whatnot. So that could entail changing some poles to concrete. That can entail changing the size or the width of a pole. And also they can include making the conductor bigger. Just those type of upgrades are what I would consider hardening.
Okay, so people who live along the blue lines on the map will not be benefiting from the underground power lines, but they will be affected. Is that correct?
Yes, they will not benefit from getting their service placed underground. They'll remain overhead, but they will be benefiting from a much stronger and resilient grid.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kate. I live on South Outlets. My question has to do with connection to the house. So my understanding is currently, once the wires touch my house, that pipe, it's a weather hood, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So from the weather hood, I have to maintain, and if something happens to it, I have to pay for that. Now, my house is elevated like many of my neighbors. At what point, when y'all bring the connection from the ground up to my house, at what point do I start becoming responsible for that line? When it hits my meter, or when it comes out of the ground, or 3 inches above the ground, before the flood?
So as far as the meter itself, if it were underground, we were running underground wire to it, is that what you were asking?
So my meter is on the side of my house,
Right.
and that starts at 14 feet above ground level. So it's currently probably sitting around 20 feet, maybe.
20 feet high?
Yeah, I don't know, the whole steep set of stairs. Halfway up the wall on the side of my house. Like where the Dutch clock is, or? So there's a hole in the attic.
Yeah, so-
Mine comes to my roof, that's
Right.
very short, I'm really happy with that. Very short down by the bed, then there's my meter. But that, all of that is over 14 feet from the ground.
Yeah, so, in the event that we do underground service to your home, the service will come up, 14 feet to your meter can, and then it'll go to the top of your meter can. That would be our line of demarcation.
So from the top of my meter, along is my responsibility.
From the top of the meter down.
The leftover weather hood, so we're gonna abandon the weather hood that's above the meter, we're gonna bring it in underneath the meter. The abandoned line that's now connected.
No, that's not what I'm asking. So currently, I have friends who have lived places where their lines got pulled out by weather hoods from the weather. And so they had to get their weather hood repaired. And that is on them and not the power company. Now, what I'm asking about is if we have underground power and it can go underground and then come up to my meter, at what point on that coming up to my meter am I responsible should something happen to that line or that line?
So the demarcation point in that case is the top side of your meter socket. So it would be Florida Power line wire pushed all the way to the top side, or what we consider the source side of your meter. it is from there that everything is yours, the meter box and everything else.
Thank you.
So my follow-up on that then, so the abandoned letterhead that's no longer receiving power, that belongs,
Yeah, that's ours.
that belongs to us now.
That's correct. And as it always has been.
A lot of questions we've had tonight are about what this or that looks like. So I was just wondering, after you continue the design phase, take all of our feedback back, will there be like a second meeting with more images or videos or something we can go online and visit and see schematics or videos just of the design so we can actually visually see what some things look like so we can feel better or worse about it? Give more feedback.
I would say since y'all been so nice today, it's, potentially we might come out here. No, but we have a customer outreach team. We will filter that information through them. We'll also keep Mr. Ted Hawthorne. He's been a great communication liaison between us all. We can filter that information through him and through our outreach team. They will keep you in the loop in lieu of what we have planned. In the event we do come to an agreement.
So specifically, I was just curious, and you may not be able to answer this, and that's okay, but will there at some point be visuals that we can have so we can see? Because you did have a couple images, but I think I'll just speak for myself. It comes down to what is this actually going to look like? And that will help me decide if I would love to volunteer, because I would like underground power, or if I look at that and go, you know what? I don't like that. So are there going to be some drawings or schematics or videos or animations, whatever, at some point?
Yeah, so we do have some tools at our use. We have an AR photo where our team comes out before they actually get an easement completed. They would take a picture, it's augmented reality. They'll take a photo and pretty much place a transformer in the area. It's like exactly what it is. It's a visual, it'll give you a visual, like, hey, if we decide, if we're able to get an easement here, this would look like. It allows them to take a picture, put that transformer there, put it to size to make it look realistic, and it gives you a good visual. Also, have you received our welcome packet? See, we are sending those out in phases. You have?
Oh, no, we did. I was just saying, it's just kind of generic. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's got some fact sheets in there telling you about the program a little in depth. We also have, our fpl.com/SSUP. We have a lot of resources on there that you can look through, and we even have videos on there explaining the whole process. But
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, J.C. Tellison, I live on Bryant, but I have a house on Kalash, and we've already gone through this. I've met with, talked on the phone, great job. Met with the outreach people twice, and I have the packet to sign the easement and the AR with the picture, and I appreciate it. I'm here to tell you, as I told them, I'm going to sign an easement. Okay, I don't want you to go into another neighborhood, but when you started this out tonight, Mr. Engineer, and you said, well, we haven't really looked at that, you kind of set us all off. Okay? We just asked, and I'm happy, I'm an old retired guy, I walk in the morning, I'm happy to get with your engineer to walk these alleyways and go, can we do this a better way? Because one of the things that I think we're talking past each other, I haven't talked to anyone who isn't for this. I haven't talked to anyone who isn't willing to have a box on their property if that's going to make things better. What we're asking for is to look down an alleyway to run a power line down the center of the alleyway that Mike is doing a great job of maintaining and will do in the future. And then when we need to have a box wherever we need it, that person's going to get tapped on the shoulder and say, okay, we can either do it here or the next guy down. Because when the outreach guy said, power box is every 300 feet. So that's a 600-foot run for a power to go in my addle-pated little mind. So we kind of go, we can get there. Somebody in that whole space can get this. And then once we get the boxes in place, there is never going to be another reason to have a big truck with poles going down an alleyway. So as somebody else said earlier, Peoples runs pickups down the alleyway all the time. I run my pickup down the alleyway. Sometimes, Mike, we need to get a little bit better on some of these alleyways, but we can do that.
You doing a good job.
I did too.
I did. He is doing a very good job, but sometimes we can do a little bit better. Now, when we hear kind of a little bit of a veiled threat that, well, if you guys don't want to get on board, it's all voluntary, then we're just going to move on down the road. Well, if you move on down the road, you're going to ignore our power lines, and maybe we'll get the trees done, and maybe we won't get the trees done, but you're going to spend a whole lot of time with me and everybody else screaming about the fact that the power is out again. And we don't want that. That's why we want you here.
And that's why we're here.
And we appreciate this tonight. But this is the start of a dialogue. The very first, this thing took on a life of its own in 3 weeks. All of a sudden, we got packets and easements and right-of-ways and everything else, and there's flags out on Triangle Park, and everybody's losing their mind. And trust me, guys, you three, you haven't seen us when we really get irritated. Okay? We can be just as bad as some of my bad relatives. And we don't want that. We appreciate that you're here, and we want to work with you. So I'm happy to give you my card. My wife is happy to get me out of the house. We'll walk these alleyways, and we'll go, which ones can we work with? So thank you for coming. Thank you very much for coming. But let's, as your timeline says, we're in the first phase. And I don't think you've drawn up any kind of plans yet to go, okay, this is where the lines are actually going to go. So when we see somebody doing a hand dig someplace, I thought yesterday, oh heck, they're on Kailash, they're getting ready to do something. So that's done. I'm done.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out, guys. My dad was a power, he worked for Power Company. My question is for all y'all. Put your hands up if you have no power. This question is just for y'all. How many people's rates went double when that Vietnam took over? Put your hands up. That's all I want to know. That was my only question. I'm just doing surveys too.
Thanks, Ron. Come on, Ted. Come on.
And like
Come
you
on.
said,
Come on.
I want to say thanks for all you've done as well. And Steve, I live on the corner of Kailash and Flanders. My question again would be addressing the street lights that's in the back of the alley. Why do we have to leave the power lines still hanging if we're doing underground? Why would we not do everything underground?
Because you've got other
Normally, when we have a significant number of outlet lights, as we have, if we can get an underground source to lights that are in succession, it is normally within our designs to run up the pole and daisy chain those lights overhead. A lot of the thought behind that is it's very expensive to bore, okay? You'd have to put the bore rig back there in the back alleys, which probably wouldn't fit.
I would like to add that where our goal is to increase your reliability as far as service to your home, receiving power, reducing those interruptions. Lighting is wonderful, but that does not impact your reliability.
So if the line falls on the lights, that don't create power blackout?
So I'm sorry, that's where I was going. It's secondary wires, duplex. It's nothing more than an extension cord powering these lights, if you will, on a simplistic way. And so during major events when they go out, yes, lights are important, but we all know we want our refrigerators in our homes back up. And so that's what we concentrate on. So we don't see the significant liability there in terms of impacting customers' service to their homes via outdoor lights. So we found that acceptable method of running them overhead to help reduce cost. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just anxious that we get the lights out of the alley and maybe some nice little poles in the front periodically and not have my backyard so lit up.
Hey.
We do too.
Yeah, we would like to do that as well.
Yeah, but you know, those big old LEDs are bright. There's too many of them.
If we had facilities up front, we can make that happen.
You gotta get big trucks through there servicing as well.
Different topic.
Thank you.
My name is Todd Morris, I live over at Gibbs. Different areas I live, I've had major utility upgrades, not necessarily power, but they brought it right up to the house, went through the junction box or whatever, and then we had to have a specific, say, plumber or whatever, come in and finish the connection. Will you guys finish the connections into the meter boxes?
That is correct. Yeah, we have a team that once we get the underground facilities in place and the wire pulled up to the meter box, basically the de-energized wire hangs out at the bottom, and we do it transformer at a time in terms of conversions, and they will take care of the overhead caps that we talked about, removing the old wire, and also pushing the new wire into the meter socket, re-energizing, and keeping the outages down to a minimum for each transformer.
Kevin Wade, having lived through multiple phase switch to underground, absolutely love it. I walk out in the backyard and I look up and I see sky. The only thing else that's crossing that blue up there is the Cox cable, and you know, we're all going to be switching to AT&T fiber here in a moment anyways, right? But the more you talk, the more I hear your absolute distaste for having 14 kilovolts running in an alley. And the more you talk, I get it. I do get it. I hate the idea of seeing these boxes everywhere, but one thing that's on social media all the time is, hey, did anybody hear that transformer blow up? Now, we don't get transformers that really blow up, but we get those fuses that blow, and it sounds like something that you would think would be a transformer blowing up. How often do neighborhoods that already have all of this installed experience the power outages like we do every time a fuse blows? You know, over 30 years here, the reliability of power has been just getting better and better and better. You know, 30 years ago, why have a VCR with a clock on it? Because you're going to have to reset the clock every day. But like, I didn't get the package until like I was turning the keys to come down here. So I don't have any stats on the actual reliability that this is going to go ahead and bring. And, you know, having these things out in the streets, I'm willing to live with that eventually, I guess. But I really want to know about the difference in reliability. And you did mention earlier that the the feeders will end up being a dual system essentially. So if one line goes down, you're going to be switching over. That's happening remotely is what I understand or guess, hope. But really, what is the difference in reliability?
Are you asking the difference between overhead and underground?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's significant. I want to say 50% better on underground. And, you know, I can just tell you my experience over the years in restoration efforts all over the U.S. that we typically start at the sub and work out on the main line overhead feeder backbone, which will always remain the main stuff out on the highways. Should always remain overhead. But once we get the branches brought up, very seldom have we ever drove into an underground neighborhood.
Okay.
We just energize the main line and that underground neighborhood comes up, and that's typically the way it goes. There's no work to be done in there, and that's fast. It's a flip of a switch. So it's vastly different.
My name is Mike Thompson. My name is Mike Thompson. We live right at the end of the linear park around. I live on a corner house. And I want to just say right up front, I'm not aware of all the complaints, but I hope that y'all do take into account the people that are wanting the alleyways to remain the source. And if you can't, then I hope you will get back to us. One of the things I heard was cutting the alleyways. That ceased when collection for garbage ceased. And the county was the one that was cutting it, not y'all. And I appreciate y'all being honest, and I'm sorry for some of the comments that have come your way, because we don't feel that way generally.
Thank you.
For the vegetation, real quick with the vegetation.
I want to follow up with that comment.
Go ahead.
I moved here from Miami 2.5 years ago, and when I bought my place and saw that FPL was coming here, I was very happy because I knew that progress was going to come to the city, and I'm glad you're here. And now here we are. You're offering this program to our neighborhood. I have dangling cables, you know, back of my house, which I did not in Miami. And if you think that having underground, that's going to improve your property value, not having dangling cables all over the neighborhood. This is progress, and we need to proceed with this. And I want to know which neighborhood is going to benefit from this if maybe Point does not decide not to move forward with this. What's your next target neighborhood?
So currently I can't give you the exact neighborhood, but currently we're outreaching 3 feeders this year. Your feeder is Beachhead. We're also outreaching Body Marcus, and we're also outreaching Shallow Arm. Those neighborhoods, you know, we plan on attempting to get those also to be underground.
Do you have underground
But that's a great point, what you just said.
Do you have it in East Hill? Do you have underground in East Hill?
Not yet. They haven't showed up. This isn't our choice. It's all based on Public Service Commission and our data that we receive. This area has received a multitude of outages. That's why we're here to talk to y'all today, and that's why we would like to, you know, increase your reliability with the upgrade.
We're fortunate to have this offered to our neighbors.
For sure, and I think David made a point earlier today. We have 600,000 customers. 400,000 of those customers are still overhead. We've only been doing this project here in the Northwest for 4 years, and you've already showed up on this radar. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
You've experienced a lot of interruptions, and we want to fix that. And also to add to that, it sounds like, you know, if, say, one of our outreach specialists approached you of potentially getting easement, that would be something you would consider? So every house is not gonna get an easement or a transformer. We just need some of you to be compliant to it and want to take it. Then we can, you know, proceed on with this project. It doesn't require everyone to give an easement. And another point I would like to make is, if you have a go power, we have an easement there in back behind your property. I think it's 3 feet. Those easements, in the event that we are able to convert you to underground and move everything up front, we would vacate those easements. They would not be on your property anymore.
Okay, so.
And that's for the overhead, just to be clear.
Matt Fulcro, 220 Grieve. My question would be, so say you do have an easement that, you know, required in your area, and you're one of the people that are possibly gonna be in, is there any compensation for the property? As in, you know, what's the incentive to agree to it?
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. That's a great question. We do not compensate for our easements. We never have. The benefit is you get underground service and underground power at no additional cost to you.
So basically, so it's just kind of like, I mean, I get it, like, we all gotta play ball here, so it's just kind of, I understand.
Right, and it's very expensive to do these conversions. It's not.
I understand that, it's just kind of one of those things that really doesn't really give much incentive, you know, because for the obvious things that Chris complained about. So, I mean, that's kind of unfortunate to hear, but,
Yeah, I will say we do this all over the state, and, you know, we have had a tremendous amount of success, even around Dade County, Broward, where you think these yards are tight, pretty tight if you've ever been there. And so there's a lot of challenges there, you know, the residents, and we work through that. Not specifically us, but our peers. And so, you know, most of, just for information, 90% of FPL's other areas are rear lots. And there is a significant amount of reliability strides. They don't have alleys with moving from rear up to front up. And so, you know, and let me say this, to say that I didn't consider, or we didn't consider, looking at the back alleys is not totally true. But quite frankly, whenever you look at a layout and a design, and you look at restoration and optimization, and you look at it through a set of experienced eyes, the back alleys is not your first choice as an engineer in the utility business, or a construction manager, as I am in the utility business. That is just not it. And so we didn't do that because we wanted to disregard y'all's wishes. We were just getting started. You have to do a preliminary plan before the outreach begins, which is Daryl's team, and then they realized that you guys wanted some input, and that's what we're here for. And so we're taking that input, and we'll take a look at it, and we certainly will circle back to the HOA president, Ted, and Mr. Cole.
Don't say the joke.
You just said
No HOA?
No.
I
No.
do want to say.
Okay, he's the president of something.
The neighborhood network?
His house.
Okay.
When Shannon's not.
Well, I will say most areas that we need to have are HOAs, so apologize for that.
That's all right. We're just concerned neighbors who had a bunch of questions, and we appreciate you guys being here tonight. I do have a question for a neighbor who could not be here. She has 2 windows in her backyard where her meter is. There is no room for anything else. She's got a sprinkler system and something else. So her question was, first of all, if she puts the transformer, whatever that connection box is called, to hook up to her meter, if there's not room for it, what are her options? And 2, if she has to replace the meter, is there an average cost for doing that?
Yeah, great question. In terms of the meter box, we have done some magic over the years of getting into those meter boxes, even in tight places, particularly where we see solar and other generation and a lot of activity going on the walls. We utilize licensed electricians to do our conversions and the work done at the meter box to ensure that it's done in full compliance and done correctly. And they have penetrated a lot of meter box and got wired areas I never thought they could. And so we take them case by case basis, and if we do run into a problem at a particular residence, we certainly will work with the owner on that. We have seen cases where homeowners could not be converted underground because their meter cans were recessed into the walls. We take pictures of every meter can during our outreach. Errol's team takes photographs. And when there's any question about that meter can it take service, he passes it to our team of experts, and then we go out there and make a determination as to whether we can convert it or not. We usually rely on our electricians for that. Did that answer?
And as far as cost,
Yeah, she's gonna ask what was the cost.
Yeah, we typically don't get into that, but we have seen customers, and I say that because that falls on electrical contractors and a business outside of our arena. And we normally don't make it a habit of making referrals to electrical
So
contractors.
that is an outside contract job that the homeowner needs to do.
Yeah, so if your can is recessed in bricks, for example, and there's no way for us to penetrate the box without taking the bricks down, that one we will not convert, and we will ask the customer if they would like to convert, to have an electrician rewire, mount a new box, surface level, so that we can penetrate it. And then there are other options why we can't go underground that we usually take case by case basis. As far as the cost goes, I'd be afraid to say.
I've looked into something similar to that in my neighborhood, and I've got quotes from anywhere to $2,000 to $7,000. But that had to be with the roof, so this may be a bit different. Question for you is, how many people in this neighborhood at this moment have underground power going to the outlet? And there's another guy who's just saying how much he liked it.
Me.
Okay, yeah, okay, 3 or 4 people. Are they gonna have to have that rerouted back through their yard, torn up and put through the front yard now?
No, typically what we do is intercept those underground services at their origination point, so his is probably, I'm using you an example. Sorry. Yours
You've
is
seen
probably
it.
going down a pole and to your meter
Right.
box, if I had to guess. And at that pole, we would install more likely a secondary pedestal, which is
Really?
a green pedestal that carries services, and we would serve his house from there along with probably several others.
David, what's the distance that the box would go from the curb?
Say that
The
again.
distance, how far back from the curb will these boxes go?
As far as any.
so it's, when we ask for an easement, we're asking for it on private property. So that would be dependent on exactly how far the right of way goes back into your yard. Just based on one road I was looking at, prior to this meeting, from the edge of the road into the yard, just using the measuring tool on the county site, was 12 feet. That's the right of way. Beyond that, we can place our transformer just past that 12 feet.
12 feet
And we can
into
put
the
it
yard or from the center of the road?
No, 12 feet from the edge of the road entering the yard. That's about right?
Yeah.
So we can take the transformer and put it just at the edge of that
Technically on my
right.
front porch.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Technically be on my front porch.
And we would, again, our outreach team, they come out, they're asking, you know, we ask, this is a voluntary program. And we're asking for your preference on where if you were to take a transformer, where would you prefer it to be? Whether it's right over here in the western side of the property near the property line, or on the other side. We want your input.
Yeah, I would say 85% of the 10 by 10 squares is required for a single phase pad mount, which is a 10 by 10 square. The pad mount's actually much smaller than that, 4x4. But we gotta have area work around it, switch it, use sticks. Normally what happens, 90% of the time when somebody agrees to an easement, it's in the very corner of their property, front. So it would be either left side or right side, and it would be a 10x10, starting at the right of way and cornering up to the property line. And that's the normal, and I'm just telling you the normal installation.
Now, let's be clear, that's the size of the easement we're asking for. The landscape of the transformer does not take up a 10x10 spot. It's 4x4, so.
In the center
But
of
we
that
need that room to work around in. It's still your property, we're just gonna maintain the area for our equipment there.
We can shift that transformer around in that 10x10 structure.
Jim Kaufman, I noticed that a lot of the pushback is based on the box of the front yards. People aren't really excited by the box in the front yard. And my observation is that if the box had a mural on it, maybe some flowers or some seagulls and some sand and seeds and waves and whatnot, it would be, instead of an eyesore, it might be a fun object and appreciated in the front yard. So my question to you is there a mechanism in place that physically prevents us from painting the boxes?
I can follow up with you on that, but that's not typical. You don't need to be touching that equipment. You know, that's high voltage equipment.
Is there a mechanism in place to prevent us from painting the boxes? Is there any way that you can stop us?
Try to find out. Steven, and then it's 2 minutes until 8, so we're gonna stop at 8, out of respect for David, who's been here for 2 hours. So Steven, I'm giving the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you for being here, gentlemen, taking our questions. It's a tough job to sit up there and just have, tomatoes thrown and deal with it. Not that bad, but thanks for doing that. One of the things that I'm curious about, recently, in the recent past, our neighborhood, we had the sewer put in. And for those of you who lived through that ordeal and the headache that was, they tore up the streets, man. You could get caught and like, how do I get out of my neighborhood sometimes with all the streets tore up? And I'm curious, how much of an impact is the underground installation going to have on our roads coming and going into the neighborhoods? Are you gonna have to tear up the roads to be able to put this down? Are we gonna be living with heavy equipment and red clay roads for 2.5 years as this goes in? I mean, it's a daunting thing to kind of live through that and go through it and the frustration that it frequently can be. So if you could speak to that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, since that's construction. As far as your road damage goes, we work with the county, on permitting. They have pretty stringent criteria on us, doing directional boring. But to answer your question, when we bore on our roadway, if everything goes right, and 99.9% of the time it does, there's no issues to the road. It's well below it. You know, the challenging thing is missing what's under the road and what's out in the right of ways. And we do a really good job of that. We put millions and millions of feet of conduit in a year in this county. And it's amazing at how little of other utilities that we do come in contact with, not on purpose.
So it's pretty minimal impact on the asphalt roads.
Yeah, the asphalt roads is very minimal. I will tell you there'll be a huge presence assuming that we move forward with construction, traffic and vehicles and boring equipment and all of that. But all of them have been trained in traffic control. We have traffic control vendors. In the event we have to close a road or close it down to one lane, we handle all that internally. So
off of what this gentleman said. Our phase 3 was an absolute nightmare. I was involved in helping get the contractor kicked off with the vendor list of the county. It didn't do much good. They just spun off LLCs and were bidden the next day. One of the problems with that was that in the contract between ECUA and the county, ECUA would point at the county would point at ECUA, and nothing would get fixed. And so it's hard to visualize this. Even as much information as you guys have given, I still don't even understand whether you're gonna be boring both like laterals into the properties, and then you're gonna be running a primary all the way through the ROW along the street, if that's what's happening. But in the event that there is damage, will there be a concrete contract between FPL and Escambia County on who has to fix the driveways, fix the storm drains, etc.? All of these nightmares, busted water lines. I can't tell you how many water lines Roberson was the company, by the way, busted into just on phase 3 alone. Who's responsible for that? The county or FPL? And what kind of a contract will you guys have with them?
And I apologize, I did not touch upon that earlier. We have a claims team. Our vendor manages those claims that are doing the work, and you can directly reach out to them. They have a phone number, they answer the phone, right? You're not gonna get to run around. They keep our claims to a very, very, very short list. Typically when we get a claim such as concrete, like you mentioned, say we had to do a bore to a home, and we had to do a concrete cut, which we told the resident there that, hey, we'll be back to fix this. Maybe we missed it, at that time, but they called in, they let us know, we sent the crew back out there, they got it fixed, saying that we try to handle all our claims really efficiently, quick turnaround, and I can assure you, if, we are working here, we want to, as the slideshow shown, as all our documentation, and when you do eventually get that packet, we put your property back to its pre-existing condition.
All right, I know we could keep this going all night long, and I know we're gonna have more questions. I hope that, this is just one conversation done. I want to thank each one of you for your time tonight, for sharing. We are a passionate crew. We have moments where we're rational and realistic. But we appreciate your time being here. We're going to follow up with Navy Point. I hope that what you heard was we want you to consider, this is a unique neighborhood. There's not another one like it anywhere around, and I'm not talking about the people now. I'm talking about the geography of it, and it was set up to be that way. We may not have the official historic moniker, but this is a historic neighborhood, and it's a culture and part of our life. And so we want to, yes, move forward, do what we can for our neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods, but also maintain what makes this place different than a cookie cutter cul-de-sac. So thank you, neighbors, for showing up, for your questions, for your passion. Please stay connected, and we'll be in touch as soon as we can with follow-up and a summary of this meeting. And I want to thank David with the church here for staying open for us so long. And with that, thanks for coming. Be safe going on.
Hey, before y'all head out, we all want to thank y'all for allowing us this opportunity to come talk about our program. I really respect y'all for really, taking the initiative to want to get us here, want to talk about this, not just shooting it down from the top. So, also wanted to add that our crews, my COSs, they will be out, and they will still come out and inform you of what's going on. Let's keep that talking and partnership going. Let's work through this. It'll be a tremendous upgrade for you to go underground, and we'll be glad to work with you.
Yeah, and again,
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, will you email me the presentation? Will you email me?
If they'd already started and they had to tell people.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.